Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're talking about subcontracting today in V13. I don't know if you guys have tried using subcontracting V12. It wasn't a feature, but you could get away with doing it. But it was pretty rough and pretty hard to set up and automate and understand. So this feature is more than welcome to come into V13. So I'm just going to go over really briefly through these configuration steps and the workflows, things of that nature. I do want to try to get to a little case study that we can try to do together, but since we're pressed for time, we'll see if we get to that. Okay, so our first thing is, what is subcontracting? I'm sure most of you know, but just to clarify, it's when me, the manufacturer, is creating most of, if not, well, not all of it, but some parts, if not most of the manufacturing process, and then I go to a subcontractor, a third-party or manufacturer or subcontractor to complete my manufacturing process. So, for example, I would use some wood, put together a wooden chair, send it over to my subcontractor to finish it out, and send back this finished chair that looks exactly the same, trust me. And so they would add the cushion or something like that. This is a very real-life example. Now, the benefits and challenges that come with subcontracting, definitely the benefits that come with subcontracting is definitely the specialization that you can have, greater focus on your core business, and then you can also capitalize on the subcontractor's specialization into what they do, and then combine that into your finished product. That carries into lower fixed costs as you pay for fewer employees, less expenditure on equipment, fixed assets, things like that. And some challenges that come with that are your traceability, your ability to communicate with the third party to be able to kind of keep a track of who has what's their current stock, are they running low on the products that you supply to them so that they can fulfill the finished good to you. And then trying to automate and resupply and things like that. These are all challenges that come with subcontracting in a software or ERP system. So going into the configuration and setup in Odoo, it's pretty simple. There's a little checkbox there in the manufacturing app, configuration settings. You just tick subcontracting, and then you'll have a new option that shows up in the bill of material. If you don't have this ticked, you have your usual manufacture this product or kit, which was there in V12, and now in V13. If you enable this checkbox, you'll have a third option there on the bill of material, and we'll see that shortly, and it'll be the subcontracting. So now I'm going to go into my products. I'll start with the raw materials. With the raw materials, the routes I want to set up are, at least in this case, in this example, I buy these raw materials, and I set it to, I don't set this one to replenish on order, but we'll talk about the make to order. That's just to make things more automated. And I make sure to tick the resupply subcontractor on order, as this is the raw material that I'm going to send over to them so that they can actually assemble it, put it together, and then ship it back to me as a finished good. And then my subassembly, so this is going to be something that I manufacture in-house first and then send it over to my subcontractor. So in this one, I have it set to manufacture and also resupply subcontractor on order. And again, the replenish on order to the MTO route is just to automate things. And then finally, I have my finished good, which is set to buy, not manufacture. In this example, I'm saying I build up my wooden chair, I buy my cushions, I buy my fabric, I send all of these over to my subcontractor, and they will give me back the finished chair, the cushioned chair. So I'm technically buying this good from them. I don't manufacture this specific finished good in-house. And so I have this set to a buy, and then a make to order as well, just to continue the automation. Now, the next step for me is to configure my bill of material. This one's pretty simple. I have my finished chair, and then I have my wooden chair below that, seat cushion, and seat fabric, just like I said in my example. As you'll notice, the BOM type right there says subcontracting, and then you'll have another field that shows up below that to indicate who your subcontractors are for that finished good or for the subassembly. Okay, so that's the basic setup. Now, the workflow is also pretty straightforward. It does involve quite a few documents, quite a few records. We're going to be bouncing to a few places, but we'll see that it all generally makes sense. So the first thing we can start with, at least from a manual workflow, is to create the purchase order. What I do is usually start with a sales order, have that trigger the PO through, again, that make to order route. So I'll just start with the purchase order here, but in our example that we go through together, we'll start with the sale order. The purchase order is for the finished good so that I can eventually deliver this out to my customer, my end user. And then that will generate a manufacturing order for my subassembly because I need to supply that to the subcontractor so that it can fulfill the finished good to me, the finished chair. So I'll have my manufacturing order for my wooden chair, my subassembly. As you can see, is for the 5 wood planks. And then I'll see on my inventory overview, I've got, I don't know if you can see my mouse, perfect. I've got a receipt there and a delivery order there. So my receipt is related to the finished good, and my delivery is going to be related to the raw materials that I'm sending over to the subcontractor. And so here, on my delivery, I've got the wooden chair, which was my subassembly, the seat cushion, and the seat fabric, all of which they will use to create my finished chair. And then finally, I received the finished good from them, the finished chair. Again, that was generated from the PO that we originally had. And that's the basic workflow. You've got all your documents there. You've got your purchase order. Well, if you start with your sale order, you have your sale order, your purchase order, your delivery, your receipt, and your manufacturing order even. So you've got 5 documents there. They go across a few apps, but it's all there and it's all traceable. And it also flows pretty easily, and we'll see that in action. And so lastly, we'll see the valuation that goes with it. We have a few ways to access our valuation or see how our valuations flow through. So on the manufacturing order, for example, in my subassembly, I have this valuation button here, and next to that I have the cost analysis. I'll come back to that in a second. Here I can see in very small font here that I've got my wooden chair that came out of it, which was the positive 1, and my wood planks that went into it, which is the -5 quantity. And you've got your total valuation as well. Depending on what accounting method you use, I won't go too deep into that, that'll determine what value goes in or out. In this case, it's just automated and average, so whatever goes in should also come out. Nothing left in the whip. Next, I've got the cost analysis. So I can see the breakdown through here. I've got my unit cost for the wood planks. I've got my quantity. And then I can see my unit cost for the finished good. This was also there for V12. And then finally, in the receipt order itself, you actually see, and this is the receipt order for the finished good. We see a breakdown here as well of what I received, my finished chair, the valuation of that, what I paid for it. And then I've got the raw materials or the subassemblies that I sent over to them as negative valuations there. And so, again, more traceability on the valuation as well as where things are going. Okay, so going back to our challenges before, again, current stock of the subcontractor. We do have a new location that's associated with the subcontractor. So at all times you can go see that. And again, I'll display this in our demo. But there is a subcontractor location that you could click on current stock, and you can see what they currently have on stock, whether they have enough raw materials or the subassemblies that you've provided to them, or if they have any of the finished goods on hand. The automation, again, comes with the make-to-order route, or you could do it through 0-0 reordering rules. And then we've got the communication and the traceability, which is, again, all there as we have all 5 documents that are involved in this workflow, at least in my example. And we can see at all points what's going in, what's coming out, and when. Okay, so before I get into the case, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate really quick. So, like I said, I'll start with the sales order, and I'll keep going with my finished chair example. So, I'm very creative with my names here. Got Customer Inc., and I go with the finished chair. Perfect. Let me save that. And confirm. So that confirmation, and I'll show you, well, let me show you the delivery first. I've got the finished chair that I'm ready to send out. I check availability. I shouldn't have anything on hand, as this is my first one. So I've got nothing that I can reserve, so I can't ship this out just yet. So if I go to my purchase order, I've got a few of them here. Do I have my RFQ? No, because I have something that's in green, or sorry. This record has an exception activity. Nice. All right. As always, things. Sorry. All right, let me cancel some of these out. So let's try that. Cancel. Perfect. Let me cancel that. And this one I received. Okay, let's try that again. So I'll cancel my original sale order. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate. Let me confirm that. All right. Go to my delivery. Should still be nothing to reserve. Perfect. And there's my RFQ. Okay. So now I've got my RFQ for the finished chair, like we expected. And if I look, just to take a snapshot of what currently exists in the system and what doesn't, I shouldn't have any delivery orders for my raw materials yet. These are from previous orders that I did, and this one delivery is from my sales order 5, which I just created, and this one is actually for that finished chair. So I have not yet received or generated that delivery order for the raw materials to my subcontractor. And the reason for that is I need to validate this purchase order first. So let me confirm the purchase of my chair. I don't want to receive that just yet. And let me go back to inventory. And now I've got a 6 delivery, as we can see. I've also got that receipt for the finished good. So I'm going to come to my delivery orders. Let me go to the in. Okay. So now I need to send this out to my subcontractor, but I don't have any on hand because I need to manufacture my wooden chair. And as you can see, I have the manufacturing order for that wooden chair, the unfinished chair. Let me check availability. Perfect. Let me produce. Let me save. Consume my 5 wood planks. All mark is done. And now I have 1 wood chair that I can send over to my subcontractor. I was also missing my seat cushion and my seat fabric, which I also set to make to order route and a buy. So I've got those here as well. And let me confirm the receipt of these so that I can send them over to my subcontractor. Normally with something like seat cushion and seat fabric, I would probably opt for just buying, either restocking, normally with normal reordering rules, and not do it make to order, but I decided to go this route. Why not? So to my delivery now. It looks like it's ready to go. I should have just gone with the button here, one to process. And now this looks like it's ready to go. I will validate now and apply. So now my subcontractor has received those raw materials and should be working on my finished chair. Whenever that point is, I can come into my receipts and bring that in. Here we are, finished chair. Let me validate, apply. And now the only thing I have left to do is go back to my sales order so I can fulfill that delivery, which I could have done through the inventory app as well. But there it is. So that's the whole workflow right there. Obviously, there are different routes you could take with it. That was a very, trying to be simplistic, but also trying to encapsulate as much as possible in terms of a complete workflow. But obviously, there are things that we could do with reordering rules to restock based on those rules rather than make to order, things of that nature that we could make this flow more customizable. So that's the general thing I've got for you here. I do have a few minutes to come into our case, and let's see if we can run through this. This is going to be a little more interactive, so I hope you guys are ready and paid attention. So our case here, this, again, I'm really clever with my name. So company manufactures and sells fancy painted boxes. The company purchases the components from vendor company. Those include the box sides, the box bottoms, and the paint. And then the company subcontracts the painting to subcontractor company. So it's our job right now as a team to try to set this up in Odoo and see that this works out. I hope you guys really paid attention, though, because we are kind of low on time. So let's give it a shot. I've got the products already set up, so all we need to do is make sure that we have the right configurations on them. Does anybody want to raise their hand and volunteer and shoot me a guess as to what the raw materials, if they remember from the presentation, what the raw materials should be set as in terms of the routes? I'll take the box bottom for example, these routes here. They should be by? Perfect. By anything else? This one? Yes, the resupply. However, I forgot I left out one thing. We're actually going to be manufacturing the plain box in-house and then sending the plain box to be painted. So this is actually a raw material for our plain box. So right idea, but I'm going to leave that as a buy because I still need to use that in-house to manufacture my plain box. So yes, our raw materials will be set to buy, and then I will go into my plain box, which is here, and the route here should be resupply and manufacture. Perfect. I'll do the MTO too, just to make it flow nicely. And then I also have my paint, which is another raw material. So I just need to buy that. And resupply. Nice. Perfect. And then my last one is the painted box, which should be set to? That's right. It's a buy and trick question. That's it. All right. We don't want to replenish or resupply to our subcontractor because this is the good that we're receiving from them. So we're just directly buying this from our subcontractor. And that should be it in terms of the configurations there. Now the last thing we need is our bill of material before we're ready to roll. So I need one bill of material for the finished good and one for my subassembly. So I have my plain box. And as I kind of alluded to, my plain box is made up of the box bottom, one of those, and box side. Should be 4 of those. Any guesses as to what this bomb type should be? Manufacturing, that's right, because we're doing this part in-house. Perfect. And I just need one more bill of material for my painted box. My painted box is made up of my plain box and some paint. Any guesses on the bomb type here? Perfect. And then remember, this required field pops up, and I just need to pick my subcontractor. Nice and easy. Save that. All right. Let's go ahead and test this out. So I'll start with the sale order. Let me create that. The customer really likes the boxes. Nope. There we go. And now I'm selling my painted box for $1, I guess. Why not? And confirm. If I go to my delivery, I shouldn't have anything on hand. And that's correct. So, what's the next thing I should see? My purchase order, which would have, it would have the painted box on it. That's right. So, here's that RFQ for free, I guess. And it's for 1, and I just need to confirm the order. Exactly right. And that's what generates my receipt, but it also generates my manufacturing order so that I can complete my sub-assembly for the plain box. Let me check availability here. I didn't buy any box bottoms or box sides. Silly me. Let me go buy them now. Vendor. Box bottom. Box side. I should buy plenty of these because I don't have it on automated purchasing, so I'm just going to restock to 100 apiece. I'm going to receive my products, validate, apply, and now I can finish my manufacturing order. Let me check availability. We can do it. Produce, save, and mark is done. Perfect. So what do we have left? We've got our plain box. Got a lot of answers there. All right. So yeah, the next thing I want to do is go to my inventory because I need to ship out my raw materials or my sub-assemblies over to the subcontractor. And again, I should press that button. It's a little bit easier. And here we are. Let's deliver those goods. I only got plain box. Yeah, because my paint is set to consumable, so it's not going to show up on my detailed operations. I also reserved, yeah, okay. That's all well and good. Check. Oh, I didn't set it to consumable. That's all right. I will force it anyway. Paint. Spell paint right. There we go. And I'll force the one. Force the one. Save. Validate. Okay. So last thing I need to do is, receive my product, my finished good, my painted box. Let me validate that receipt. And then, well, my very, very last step is to fulfill my sale order. But for all intents and purposes, our subcontracting is done. Okay, so that's all I've got. You guys did a great job on the case. Do you have any any questions for me?
I have one.
Yes.
How do you see how much you have by your subcontracting company? How do you
Great.
know how much you're sitting out there?
Yes, great question. So definitely you're going to be wanting to set some, whether it be make to order, to do things automatically, but just to check your stock at any given moment. If you go to your locations, you'll see that there's this partner location / my company, which is the company's name, subcontracting location. If I click into that, I can always check the current stock. So this is available on any location, but just as a standard piece. In V12, you would have to create a subcontracting location, but here in V13, it does that for you. And you can see what you have on hand. Right now, I've got nothing because I've shipped out everything I've sold, but yes.
Is there any thought or consideration being given to service products being integrated into the subcontract?
To what extent? You mean something like labor or?
It's variable service at the subcontractor level at an hourly rate.
So essentially, the service that you're providing, let's say, in these examples, I kind of put things together to make it seem like they're physical goods. But at the end of the day, you're really paying for the service. You're buying the service that they provide on the assembly. Because I'm giving you all the raw materials, and essentially it's just your labor, your time that you're spending on putting them together and giving them back. So all of that cost that's associated with that is going to be encapsulated on the purchase order, which in turn becomes the vendor bill. So the cost associated with your finished good, that labor that went out to the subcontractor, that's kind of inherent in the finished goods cost.
And that showed up on the individual BOM cost? Because I thought that the individual BOM cost was related to the individual cost of the product.
That's exactly right. So the BOM cost is going to be whatever's on the bill of material on the manufacturing order. And so the labor, again, comes in with the purchase order. So in terms of the finished good that's subcontracted, the finished cost is going to be, or sorry, the end cost, the unit cost is going to be based on the bill of material as well as the purchase price. So the components that go into it and the service that you paid on top of that to bring it back as a finished good. So that's all in there. Yes?
Yeah, what if you don't do any manufacturing, but you have two subcontractors? In other words, you just go from one, you ship your raw materials directly from your supplier to the subcontractor, and that person does something, and then they send it to another subcontractor. Is that possible? It seems like it would be, but I don't know.
I'm sure we could set that up. That is a little bit more complicated, but it sounds to me like more of a drop ship. I mean, we could kind of.
Some sort of a route, it's just that
Right.
instead of that, sending it back to you and you purchase it, and they would send it to someone else.
Right, they could send it to somebody else.
Is that
Yeah.
possible?
I believe so. So I think if we just set it up to have the subcontracting, the second set of the subcontracting, send, if our second bill of material for the second subcontractor has that subcontractor defined there on the BOM, it should send right to them and not directly back to you.
Could be set up to go directly to the subcontractor, right?
Exactly, right. Dropship rather than just have it sent to you. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, she had the mic.
In the BOM type, when you had subcontracting and then the new option of the
Yes.
subcontractor appeared, do you need to set up something different in there to choose the vendor, or you can just choose any vendor?
So those tags that pop up,
Yep.
as you notice, it looked like a tag field or many-to-many
tag.
field.
Yeah.
So you can actually select more than one customer, vendor, supplier, subcontractor. So this is just pulling from the list of all of your contacts, and you would select from there.
Can you just talk a little bit about the accounting consequences that you have for the delivery?
Oh, I could go for hours on the accounting consequences. So like as this gentleman alluded to earlier, the cost that goes into it, depends heavily on your inventory valuation setup as well as your costing method. If you've got manual versus automated, for example, that would flow the costs differently. If you've got standard price, it just depends on the cost that you set on the product template, whereas the price variance wouldn't affect in that regard, regardless of what raw materials you put in.
Yeah, but let's say you have a cost, right?
Sure.
To define whatever the method. So then what are the accounting consequences?
At what stage are we talking? Are we talking about?
Delivery or receipt? Well, delivery and receipt.
Okay, so
Sorry.
again. Oh, sorry.
So yeah, sorry, thank you very much. Sorry, we
talk
need
to you
to
after.
switch to the next one. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
But you can, of course, you can ask us. Of course, you can ask any of us anytime.
Good to go? Awesome. Thank you all for coming. My name is Omar Kayed. I'm an account executive here at Odoo. It's my job to understand business processes, present the software to you. So today I am actually very excited. I'm going to be presenting a brand new app for the very first time, social marketing in Odoo, which has been a big request from a lot of clients. And this is our very first Connect, and I am the very first person to present it. I did make a lot of slides. I didn't know that this was only going to be a 20-minute presentation. So I'm going to skip the slides and go right into a live demonstration. And then you can ask me questions at the end if you have any. So first and foremost, what are the apps that you're going to need to go through and create a social marketing campaign? One, social marketing. You're going to need a website and e-commerce. You're going to need sales, invoicing, email marketing, and SMS marketing if you would like to send text messages. Let's look at the inside. The first thing you're going to see is your Twitter feed. Now, this is a Twitter account that I made last night for this presentation. The way you set it up, go to your social media accounts. We can link Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Now, let's look at our feed. This is the exact same feed that is on my test Twitter account that I made. Let's go ahead and make a social media post. We'll create a new post. Now, as I go through this demonstration, hopefully, when I go from page to page, you'll see the similarities, and that will give you a good understanding of how easy and how user-friendly this specific application is. So let's say we want to create a Twitter post. Odoo Connect Live Demo, social media. And we can go ahead and save this, and we'll post it and send it now. Now, from this specific application, if you send a Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter account, you'll see the amount of clicks you get. If you have a link to a sales platform, you will see the amount of quotations sent or revenue that is generated from a single post. Let's go back to my Twitter feed. I'll go ahead and refresh the page. And as you can see, Odoo Connect Live Demo Social Media has been posted on my feed. Now, usually when we think about marketing and social marketing, we talk about it as a campaign. You're not just going to make one random post in the middle of a demonstration. You're usually going to plan out a campaign over a period of time for a product or a service or just to brand your product. So let's go ahead and create a campaign. This is the inside of the campaign module. So you can start a new campaign. This is the Kanban view, so you can drag and drop them as you go, and as that campaign builds up to essentially create new and more campaigns as you go. Let's create one together. We'll call this Social Media Live Demonstration. And we'll save it. So as you can see from this view, if someone clicks on this campaign or any of the ads that I post, you'll see the amount of engagement, meaning how many likes you get. You'll see the revenue generated and, of course, the clicks. Let's start slow and let's send an SMS. Let's go ahead and type the subject. We'll do social media campaign demo. You can create mailing lists. These can be from your contacts, can be from people who have recently purchased items. You could even pinpoint it to a certain person in a stage in a CRM as well. I created one last night that will send directly to my phone. So I'll do test live demo. And I'll go ahead and save that, and I'll send it now. And if I pull out my phone, I should have received a text. Let's see here. And boom, you can see the notification on my phone. Now, within this specific campaign, let's go ahead and send another social media post. Because usually, like I said, you're not just going to create a social media post and send it now. You're going to create multiple ones that you would like to schedule over a period of time. So I can say social media campaign next month. And we'll schedule for later. Now, you can use this scheduling tool to pinpoint the day and time. So I could say, we're going to schedule this for December 1st, and we'll pick the time, and I can even put it towards the 2nd. We'll go ahead and schedule this one out. we'll go back to our campaign, and now we have a fully active campaign that is going to post social media posts over a certain period of time. Now, if everyone here is familiar with push notifications, what those will do is have a pop-up window that will show up either on someone's computer, their laptop, or if they're looking at your website. So I will go ahead and create a push notification, and you'll see what one looks like here. Hold on. It should pop up on my screen here. All right, let's move to the next one. Maybe it'll pop up when I go on the website. So my favorite piece of this application is being able to talk to people who are actively looking at your website and see what they are doing and what they are clicking on. So here's a website that I created. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page so it knows that I'm active. And let's go on the shop. Let's say that I'm interested in this large cabinet, and I click on it. Now here in the back end of my social media campaign, I can click visitors, and I can see that there's someone logging on my website currently. I can click this button. I can see how many pages they visited, how many sites they visited that are currently of mine. I can see the products that they viewed. So go ahead and click on a product. Here's that large cabinet that I clicked on just now. And now what would you do if someone went to your website? I could send them an email. So I could send them an email if this is a past customer of mine who was on my website, but they're not currently. Or even better, I can talk to them right now. Now, obviously, the goal of marketing is either to brand your product or to create revenue. So how do we directly create revenue from this campaign? I've got a good idea. I could say, hey, did you like that cabinet? How about a 15% off coupon? And I can go ahead and send that to the admin. Now, if I log back on my website, go ahead and refresh the page. Boom, it's going to pop up. And now I can interact with my client while they're trying to shop to generate business. Now let's go back to our social media campaign. And let's look at a little bit of the features that we can use when we're using the Twitter application. So if I send a social media post, and I save it and I post, most of the time, what you're going to want to use social media for is to engage with people, because engaging with someone is how you're going to build your brand and how you can generate revenue over a long period of time. Something that is pretty much standard with every business now, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. So from this specific application, I can talk to people on my Twitter account. I can come in here and I could tag this specific account. And say, hey, I'm so glad that you came to Odoo Connect. And I can send that directly to this client. I can also see how many likes I've gotten or retweets. So essentially, you can see how effective your campaign is in live time. You're not going to have to wait to see if anyone has clicked on any of your posts. The social media app is very user-friendly. There's not a lot of bells and whistles to it, but it is very complex in what you get from it. So if you set it up right, you're going to get a lot of functionality, and setting it up is extremely easy. I think this took me about 15 minutes last night. The hardest part was creating a Twitter account and getting them to let me make a fake key for me to log in and show you today. That's really all I have. I wanted to save a lot of time for questions because I know that this has been something that a lot of people have asked for. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions, and feel free to ask away. Oh, the visitors, yeah. So if I had multiple visitors, they'd all be in one line going up here and up and down. And you can click on it. I can see right here the products, which page they visited. So if your website has multiple pages in it, I have the home page, the shop, so on and so forth.
Hi, I've actually got a feature request.
Yeah.
I know it's new and all, but so it's not directly related to posting on social media, but it's still social media related, which is there's no place to input your Facebook pixel for a website. We have to currently send that to you guys, and you guys put it in, at least online, for us. And so this would be a perfect place to have a place for that, so that you can put your pixel code, Facebook pixel code, so that you know what that is, right?
No.
Okay, so it's when if you have the pixel code embedded in your website, when visitors navigate your website, you can get some analytic data.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, this seems like the module that would be best to integrate that with, and so if you could.
Oh, I'll pass it along for sure. And this is live streaming, so they'll see the message. Next one.
From a visitor's perspective, do you have to be on that page to constantly get the updates, or is there a notification system?
For the visitor section, you would have to constantly be on this page. Now, of course, I believe we can set up some kind of notification system using Studio or with special customization on the back end. But the idea would be that you have a team constantly watching this section. Of course, if you have a huge e-commerce platform, the idea would be that someone's watching this back end page and deciding how to go about that.
And then one more question, kind of similar to the Facebook. What are some of the, I saw Twitter was connected. What are some of the other platforms that you have?
So it's Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter right now.
You
Currently.
don't have Instagram?
Not yet. I know that's coming. That's a huge request.
Yeah. And then you guys don't have the Instagram to add basically to the website. It's not connected yet. So Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter are there, but Instagram is not. And then if you're working on developing as well, TikTok, look at TikTok as well to add TikTok because they have the most amount of users recently in terms of an increased perspective.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Instagram is not on there. So to add the Instagram widget,
mm-hmm.
and if you're developing, look at TikTok as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Hi. If
Hello.
you have, for example, a Facebook campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to add money to promote the campaign, how would you do that from this social media marketing?
And you want to add money to promote the campaign as in where? So with this specific application, you don't have to spend any money besides purchasing the application.
But I want to put a post, and I want to put money on that post so that it is widely seen. So I would make a
I see what you're
campaign
saying.
here,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
go to Facebook.
So you mean posting a Facebook ad from the
Yes.
system? So in our system, I don't believe you can do that. I believe it's only for monitoring your specific Facebook feed. So it's not for marketing on Facebook. It's for just branding yourself with your own Facebook page.
Okay.
So you'd have to go to Facebook to create that ad.
Okay. Thank you.
My question is about visitor tracking. Is it working also with anonymous visitor?
With an anonymous visitor? Yeah, so it would look like this, website visitor number 4. So the idea would be, so Mitchell admin, that's someone that is created in this demo database. So if you had a website where you have people log in, you would see their name. But you can see right here with the website visitor number 4, that's what it looks like if it's just a one-off person who's not, doesn't have an actual portal. And you can still do the same thing. So if they're live on your website, obviously you wouldn't have their email, so you couldn't send them an email, but I could still send them a chat request and have something pop up on their screen live.
And is there a link with lead generation?
Not in this specific module. What you would do to generate leads, you would create, in your website, what you would want to do.
Yeah, because there is a features on CRM when we activate. If we have some visitor visit the website, sometime with the IP address, it will recognize the lead and get some information about the company, something like that.
Oh, yeah. So if you have that set up through the CRM, it will still do that. And that would be...
But not here.
It would be completely separate. So what you would do on this end is, let's say you had a contact us page. So maybe you would, if it was a website visitor like this, who's just a one-off, it's not someone who logged in, you could maybe send them a link message that has the link to it, and then they fill it out, boom.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Feel free. I've got like 10 more minutes. Yeah, we can talk all day, no problem.
Don't worry about it.
Could you connect with a lot of different accounts?
Yes.
If
yes.
you want to connect with your employee account, for example, if you want
Yeah.
to share content.
Yeah, so you can just come in here, and you can add a new feed. So I can go to my feeds, add a stream, and boom. And I can add another Twitter account, and you can go in here. So this is mine. I can add as many as I would like. And they will all show up on this page just in one line. So this is Omar's.
But you have to have their credential, or could
Yeah.
you ask them to do it?
You could, yeah, you just put in their username and passcode, and that's it. It's just like logging into Twitter. So you just log in through here, and there's a place that says give Odoo authorization, and then it's checked in.
Yeah, but okay, you need to have their credential. You
Yeah.
cannot ask your employees to go on this app and add their own feed directly.
No, yeah, you can. So,
Yeah,
so
we can do
as long as they have their own their login information, they can log in. Yeah.
Okay, like that. After you can use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could use it for as many feeds as you'd like.
So can you schedule posts in advance?
Yeah.
Like in terms of,
So and that's
Like
the
a
whole goal
campaign,
behind.
yeah.
That's the whole goal behind your campaigns. I can create one here, and let's schedule later. And you can pick the date. We can do it today. We'll pick the time. What time is it? 3:19. So we'll do 3:30. Schedule. And the idea is that you schedule multiple, so you have that campaign go over through a long period of time. And that's why you would have Facebook and LinkedIn posted, so that you can create those campaigns and have them drop
in advance.
day
Nice.
in and day out.
And then one more question on the SMS that you sent. Is that through the portal, social marketing portal as well?
Yeah,
That you
so
can-
I can, with the same campaign, let's say I click into it, I can decide if I want to send a text message campaign as well. And you can do the same thing. You can schedule these. This is pretty much the same functionality. So I can say, I'm going to send it to Omar.
Can you schedule multiple? Like, let's say anybody that I have in my Odoo database that has phone number.
Yeah, so I can say contact, filter. Let's go to contact. And let's just put contact. And I can say test one.
And what's the platform that Odoo is using it on the back end? Does it have an unsubscribe or does it have?
This is all through Odoo. So the text message functionality is built in through Odoo.
And then so the recipient will get a message from my company, or where does the number show? What does the number show?
Okay, the phone number. I believe. Let me look. I believe it just is going to say from
Just a
Odoo.
random?
Yeah, it's just going to be some random number. Like, you know how it usually comes
Yeah.
like 4 digits?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then do they have an unsubscribe option? Because like, let's
Yeah,
say my
So you can
customers
actually go in here to the settings, and you can add that on.
Oh, okay.
So I could say here, input opt-out link, and they can opt out.
Thank you.
And yeah, the same thing. Just add as many as you would like, and then you can keep texting them.
If I do a post directly on Facebook, does it synchronize? It means it's going to show me on this platform what I did directly on Facebook or
Yes,
Twitter?
it's going to show that the exact post. So when you post on any one of these accounts, it's going to come here and look exactly like as if you did it from that specific social media account.
But if I'm in Odoo, I will see what I did directly on Facebook, for example.
Okay, so if you post on Facebook,
Facebook?
and not through the system, let's test that out.
I saw the synchronize. Maybe
I think that's test. Yeah. Oops, no. Synchronize. There it is, yeah? You're welcome.
Hi. For the SMS notification system, do you need to have a contract with a cell phone provider to send the messages or something?
No, you can completely do it through Odoo. So you don't need to. It's basically as if like you're using Google Voice or something, except it's in Odoo. So you would not need a cell phone provider to send text messages from Odoo.
Oh.
Yeah.
What if you're self-hosted, though?
That's a good question.
Yeah, then you do that. Twilio or something, you have to get somebody who.
Yeah.
You can do that.
So if you're self-hosted, you would have to, but.
For what? Excuse
If
me?
you're self-hosted, so if you're using the system on premise, then you would have to have a cell phone provider. But for the cloud software, no.
Ah, okay. Thanks.
Facebook Messenger, is it integrated?
No, it's only for the posting. Any more questions? Let me show you here at the end here. This is my contact information. So feel free to jot it down. Send me an email if you have any questions in the future. I'm always an open book and an open resource here at Odoo. Thank you. If there's no more questions.
So hello guys, it's fine, Mike? So hello guys, thank you so much for joining us for this first US edition of Odoo Connect. My name is Nathan, I'm a product owner at Odoo back in Belgium. And through this talk, I want to show you how Odoo can help you automate invoice and vendor bill creation with AI. Basically streamlining your accounting processes and automating the imports of all your invoices and bills into the system. Now, at Odoo, usually, that's how I like to put it. We spend our time developing features to save you time, to save the clients and the users time, right? And this is those small differences, those minutes saved left and right actually make a difference. All those features, all those apps we have allow you to streamline your processes and make your process more efficient so you can spend your time on meaningful tasks. And it's no different with accounting, right? Just picture this. You receive a vendor bill from one of your suppliers through the mail. You need to go to the second floor to see James in accounting. Now James, he needs to input to create this same exact invoice into the system for the accounting to make sense, to be whole, right? So you take the elevator, you see James, you have to wait a bit because he's in the bathroom, and he comes back. He needs to go into the system, create everything, make sure everything matches. It's prone to human error, so it may take a while, and then he needs to scan the document to actually attach it to the system, to the record into the system, right? This takes time. It takes at least 5 to 10 minutes, right? And it can be automated. Maybe there's a way to save some time. Maybe there's a way for James to actually spend his time on meaningful accounting tasks. So Odoo could automate everything because automation is key. We don't want James to spend his time doing this stuff. We want him to just check if the system did it right so he can save a lot of time. Now, there's three big pieces, three big parts in actually pushing your vendor bills into the system. The first one being actually getting them there, right? Sending your bills into Odoo accounting. This is done by first maybe from accounting dashboard, uploading the files into the system directly. If you have them stored on your computer, from the accounting dashboard, you can see the different journals you have. Now, if those journals are configured as sales or purchase journals, you will have the upload bills or invoice button available right there. This allows you by one click to just drop a bunch, like one or multiple documents, PDF documents or images, scans of bills for the system to process it afterwards. That's the first way to do it if you have them already on your computer. But usually what happens is that we receive those through the mail, through the email, in your inbox, right? So those journals you see there, each one of them, I mean, those are actually relevant for us are the sales and purchase ones, can have an alias set up. So an alias basically is a dedicated email address for the specific journal. And what happens is that when an email is sent to this dedicated address, if there's a file attached to that email, it will generate a new record, in this case a vendor bill, into the system and attach this file to it, right, the PDF file. It's quite convenient, right, because you can either set this up so you can actually share the email with your supplier. You can just trust your supplier to just push the invoices as draft, obviously, into Odoo accounting with this email. And what Odoo is going to do is going to actually check which email it comes from, evaluate if there's any partner, any vendor, any supplier into your system that has that email, and it will assume that this is the best guess, right? This should be the guy who's actually the supplier. So it will set this already for you into on the invoice. This is this kind of small automations I was talking about. Now, what happens quite often is that I will be receiving those emails and forwarding them to this email, right? But then Odoo is smart enough to know that my email is one of an internal user, so it will know that I'm not the supplier. So it will go through the actual content of the mail looking for the original sender of the email. So we actually upload them from the computer from the dashboard, for instance, or we do it through an email with the alias on the journal. But if you have Odoo documents, you might also want to accumulate your invoices into your finance folder, for instance, and compute them, create the vendor bills maybe monthly or yearly, and maybe not yearly, but monthly, right? Each of those workspaces also have an alias, meaning that you can just ask people to drop the different draft invoices, the different documents into this folder, and then once a month, someone can come by, select the ones he wants to actually push into Odoo accounting and create a vendor bill right there. So we have those three means. And with those three means, I'm quite sure you have at least one way to push those files, those scans or PDFs of vendor bills into your system. Now the next step, and this is the interesting one, right, is actually digitizing those bills into an actual record to the system. Because it's quite fine and dandy when you have your PDF, but you still need to know where all those information need to be fitted into the record you need to create for your accounting to make sense, right? So first option, your supplier might be using e-invoice. So I'm going to just put it that way. Just picture a regular invoice, PDF, the one you usually see when you receive it from the guy. Behind that PDF, you have the same information, the same data, but structured for an IT system to comprehend it, right? So you have a hybrid invoice with two faces. The PDF one for the human who actually reads it, the user, right? And behind it, you have the XML version, the structured data of the same invoice embedded in it. Meaning that upon upload in Odoo, you will have all the information fitted in the correct fields smoothly and quite efficiently. And the good news is that actually all the vendor bills we generate from Odoo are invoices and have an XML version of all the information in them. Meaning that if your suppliers have Odoo, just uploading their files, their PDFs into your system will result in basically all information fitted in the right place, all right? But they might not have an invoice, so what happens then? This is where the magic happens, actually. So we have this, for two versions, we've been working on our OCR. I'm sure you've heard about it. Quite fancy, quite AI-oriented, right? So it's our invoice data extraction feature. For those who don't know, OCR stands for optical character recognition. And in short, it just means that a computer, an algorithm, is going to read through a picture, through a PDF, and grasp that those bunch of characters are actually words that add up to phrases. And it's going to kind of read through it. And it's going to make sense for an IT system. Let me give you an example first. I submit this invoice, this vendor bill to the system, the data extraction system. Now, for an example, I want to look for the invoice dates and total. Now, what's going to happen is that the OCR is going to just read through it. It's going to pass the whole content of this. It can even be a scanned invoice, actually. It can be a picture, a PNG. We don't really care. It's going to go through it and realize that, well, we have two candidates for the invoice dates, and we have 4 for the amounts. But now we still need to figure out which of those is actually the right one. The system is going to assign a score to each of the options. It's going to realize that that's the invoice date and that's the total amounts based on different criteria. For instance, the surroundings. I mean, if you have invoice date ... just above it, chances are it should be the invoice date, right? If you have total just right next to it, chances are it might be the total of your invoice. So those are the surroundings of the different candidates we have for this process. The position also has an impact because quite often you will have the invoice date at the top, total at the bottom. And the fancy bit, the machine learning bit we all really care about, right, is based on feedback from the user, meaning that the system needs to learn at some point. So it's going to just try its best guess, assign a score to each option, and just come up to you with what it has. And you're going to correct pieces of it. And the more you correct it, the more you give feedback to the system, and the more it learns. This is the fancy, the really interesting bit, is that it actually learns from the corrections you're going to give the system. So we've pushed our files into the system. We've digitized we fitted all the information we had on the PDF into Odoo, but still there are some informations you want to have on your invoice, but you don't actually have them on your vendor bill. For instance, the products and accounts, right? That's internal. Your supplier is not going to give them to you. So that's like the cherry on top we have in this process. What's happening? It's quite fairly easy actually to explain. The system is going to just look at the vendor he guessed based on the VAT number, for instance, when he passes through the whole invoice. And it's going to look for each of the lines of your invoice at the description, the label, the different words you have and the keywords you have. And then based on the last 10,000 invoices you posted into the system, it's going to look at try to predict which is the best guess for the product and the account of each line. But I'm going to show you a demonstration, actually. I'm going to show you actually how it happens. So for instance, for this flow, I'm going to upload it from the accounting dashboard right there into my vendor bill journal. I'm going to take the vendor bill I received from Trek Bicycle. The system is going to process a bit. And as you can see, it's there ready in draft. And you have, what's actually nice, because I told you that an important piece of that is that, well, the system can make mistakes, so you still want to double check what's happening. And on the side, you're going to have the actual file you had, and you can compare it directly with what Odoo guessed. So as you can see, all the information is fitted in the right place. And right there, it actually knows that I've had a few bills from this guy so several months ago, and since he had bike and off-road keywords into the label, it actually guessed that, well, setting the cars and vehicle account is a good guess in this case. Okay? And then the only thing James has to do left is actually posting the thing. So, different flow, different nodes in this flow. So I'm just going to walk you through it one last time. How do we get bills into Odoo? Just picture it like this. On the left side, you have the external world, like the outs of Odoo world, where you have either paper invoices that goes to the scanner, or your inbox, your Gmail inbox, in which you receive your invoices from your supplier, or you have it already on a computer, maybe. On the right side, well, obviously there's Odoo accounting, and you might have document as well. So the first flow you can have, one of the flows we talked about, is scanning the paper invoice on your printer. And most printers now they have this scan to email feature, where you can actually push and send the result of your scan to a specific email. You guessed it, the alias of my journal account, the vendor bill one. So it's going to go to accounting, going through the AI and all the magic I showed you, and end up where it should be. If you have the file on your inbox, you simply have to forward it in the same alias, and it's as easy. And if you have it on a computer, simply load it from either the accounting dashboard or maybe the list view of the customer invoices or vendor bills. And from documents, you can also directly create the bill. So I'm guessing that with all those different flows, we answered quite a bit, and James really does not have any more excuses to actually spend his time on more meaningful tasks doing his accounting. And thank you guys so much. I'm open for questions now. Thank you.
Hi. In Mexico, we already have an e-invoice system where you send the PDF and XML file to your client. Can you skip the OCR process and just assign each account for your journals through reading the XML file?
What do you mean assign each account? Oh, you mean like when actually...
Instead of the AI assigning the accounts for each segment of the document,
okay.
you manually assign, this is a track for each of your providers. You assign the account for cars or expenses or something.
Also, I mean, instead of letting the system guess which is the best account, you actually want to push this information clearly into the data, right?
So each time I push the XML files to the system, it automatically accounts for each document?
Well, it does make sense if you assume that everyone has the same chart of accounts, indeed. And since localization actually has an L10N module with a specific chart of account, it would make sense. It's not the case right now. I'm guessing as the development is quite easy to just add this information in it, assuming that this account is from the module, the localization module. But it's a nice, really nice feedback. I'll talk about it with the localization product owner.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
When they get scanned into, whether it's scanned or sent from your email, does it sit just in a draft until someone goes in and puts it to vendor bill, or where does it sit?
Yeah, because we still assume that a user has to go through it. I mean, now, if you, for a specific use case, you really need for this to be automated, there's still ways to do it. But yeah, we just still assume that it's still, those 2% of like inaccuracy we might have, you don't want to end up in those. So we still have an accountant, or I mean, someone to go through them and actually validate them.
And if one of them needs to be attached with a PO, can you do that at that point too?
Well, in this, so here's how you should see it. You have, like, in your flow, in transactional flow, you have the sale order. It's a binding document, but not as much as the bill, right? So we decided to focus on the accounting first. We had a lot of feedback about having the same feature, the same OCR parsing for sale orders and purchase order. But then we might end up in some kind of scenario where we actually have mismatch between what the SO of an invoice actually says, and it's not always one-to-one from a sale order to an invoice. So we focused on the accounting on this bit, but you would like to have some kind of automation to actually connect it to an existing sale order, or do you want to have the same thing for sale orders?
Not necessarily automation, but just being able to take it from the draft point. If we put everything into that draft, some of it goes automated, some of it we could put into a PO or no.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Not yet.
First focused on the accounting,
yeah.
but yeah, thanks.
I think to expand on her question, I think if there's a vendor bill coming in that should be attached to a PO, are you saying that that vendor bill shouldn't be automatically scanned in because there's no way to attach it to the PO that it's associated with?
Also mean you already have the PO into the system,
Correct.
and then
you
you want to
already have
attach
the
it.
PO, and then you want to associate that PO with the scan and vendor bill. Can you add that PO in, or will it add in the products duplicated?
Okay, so the way it's set up right now is that when you look at the PO and the vendor bill, or the sale order and the customer invoice, there's no clear connection between those two because you might have one invoice for two sale orders or the other way around. So currently that is not the case. I guess, do you think about this for information purpose? So actually just notifying the user that this vendor bill is actually connected to a specific purchase order or maybe several ones? Or do you want to have an actual connection to the system line by line? Do you know what I mean? I mean, the thing is, you have a purchase order with 3 lines and another one with 5 lines, for instance. And you might invoice those 2 at once. So if you receive this 8 lines invoice, then there's no real way to, the system should go through everything and actually find each several line that actually matches the 8 lines of the vendor bill. Currently, that is not the case. So we could find some way to actually just notify the user that in the reference, for instance, of the vendor bill, you might have on the PDF the reference of which PO is actually attached to, but that information should come from the supplier. So there's no clear connection between purchase and vendor bills.
So can I add to that same question? Sorry.
Oh, come on, really?
So yeah, the concept of the PO, right? The PO is sent to the vendor sends you an invoice with a PO number reference back to what you ordered. So what I think you guys are asking is that there should be a correlation between those two. If you're scanning in that bill and it should identify, okay, this was the PO that's ordered, because that way the vendor's not sending you things you didn't order, or you can reconcile what was received with your item receipts from a warehouse standpoint. So all the pieces should connect at the end.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Does it do that or not?
Not the case right now, but that's really indeed a good point. Okay. And I forward that. Thank you. Do you have any more questions? I'll be available afterwards if you need as well. Well, thank you guys so much then, and I hope you're having a blast at Odoo Connect for the coming days.